I'm on my way to work right now. Believe it or not, I have a regular job, even though I like talking about the Constitution and homesteading and stuff like that a lot. I got to go teach guitar lessons for the day. Quite a few up here in the mountains. So, anyhow, I have goats, and I like to leave the horns on my goats. The goats with horns are better at correcting dogs that misbehave. But sometimes they're kind of stupid. Sometimes the dogs misbehave, and these goats that have these horns that are perfectly capable of correcting the behavior of the dogs sit there and cower in a bunch. Now, sometimes too, though, a goat figures it out that, hey, that misbehaving dog, all I have to do is whack it with my horns, and what do you know? We correct him. Oh, well, I see the horns as kind of that right to bear arms, kind of that but not just the right to bear arms. I see it like just a general power and freedom, right? That general agency, that general equality, something like that, right? Now, I have these puppies that I'm training to be livestock guardians. They're not traditional livestock guardians, full blood. They're kind of this interesting mix, but they have a good nature with livestock. I know the difference between, say, for example, I've got a hunting hound that I trained him to be really good in the pens, along with those goats with the horns also helped him to be really good. And he's a really good dog. But anyhow, he was harder to train. It wasn't natural to him. He's a natural hunter, a natural chaser. Versus these dogs, they're really good natural protectors and natural with livestock. So I'm training them in the pen. Now sometimes I don't have the time to supervise their feeding. Most of the time I do. But once in a while I try to sneak their food over in the corner of the pen while the goats are eating. And once in a while, though, the goats get really curious and discover where I snuck the food for the dog to be eating and go over and try to steal the food. Now this is, if you ask me, the stupidest thing they can do, because a hungry dog is no longer a good protector at that point. At that point, the dog that his just portion, right, is the portion I left him. That is his just portion. That's what I allotted him, being the creator of the homestead, right? And they take his just portion away from him. Now I'm gone for the day, not supervising every last thing that's going on. And that protector, that hungry protector, might start to see them as food. Fortunately, they don't yet, but it's besides the point. So I correct this situation if I ever catch it going on, and then I find myself being late to work. But it is what it is. I don't want the disaster happening of these guardians discovering that they can turn what they guard into prey for themselves to just eat, right? I don't want them understanding that. And so anyhow, I guess my point is, we've got our freedoms, we've got our agencies, we've got our equalities, we've got our rights to bear arms and things like that. Those are good. There are times when we should be using it one way or another, not overly aggressively. I'm not one of those radicals or anything like that. But we don't stand up for ourselves. And then there are times when we should be actually letting the government, our guardians that we hired, that we created, do their job and get their just portion. And if we interfere with their just portion, we ruin the whole situation. People start calling us sovereign citizens then. We kind of become this like weird radical group, right? No, that's not right either. What we're supposed to do, we're supposed to be equal, we're supposed to be agents, we're supposed to have that right to bear arms, freedom of speech, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, government's legitimate. Government is a legitimate thing, especially when it's performing its legitimate role. I don't subscribe to the Patrick Henry view that, wait until the next election. No, I think that sometimes when something is unconstitutional, it's void ab initio, as they say, or in other words, it's null from the start. It's not a real law, right? So I do believe in that. That's a common principle that our founders promoted. Why would we betray that? We've been told by my religion anyhow to follow the Constitution and the tradition of the founders, right? However, too, when you look at, say, for example, the Virginia resolutions versus the Kentucky resolutions, I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle between those two, although they're very similar in attitude. Madison was a little softer in his approach, a little bit more pleading, and Jefferson was a little bit more harsh in his approach. Hey, we don't have to follow you guys at all. You're violating the Constitution. It's probably somewhere in the middle, right? And so when we're agents unto ourselves, when we have that equality and that power, let's not abuse it to take from the government its just portion.